that this is no surprise whatsoever. Israel has always had an ironclad guarantee of US support, and the US have always had their back, particularly throughout the genocide in Gaza. All the US has ever done is to urge Israel to be careful, to use caution and to be precise. Now they have doubled down on what has been a legacy of complete support for Israel since World War II, with something like a huge amount of money, $318 billion being given in military aid to Israel since the end of World War II by US alone. And a third of all military aid to Israel comes from Germany, who, we should note, are clamping down very seriously on their own population in terms of opposition to the war in Gaza. Deputy Boyd Barrett is attending a conference tomorrow in Berlin that is being banned by the German government, an international conference on the question of Gaza. And these are the people who you want us to align with and to become partners with in an attempt to ditch our neutrality when you talk about bringing a bill to this Dáil to get rid of the triple lock. But in the meantime, you're doing absolutely nothing, and I want to back the sentiment from Deputy Bacik on this. She's not going as far as I will, but she is saying that we need to do more, and we need to be seen to do more in terms of sanctions on Israel. And I believe at this point, and the movement on the streets believes, and they keep repeating it, and it's getting bigger and stronger, and the voice of the Irish people is getting louder, we need to expel the Israeli ambassador from this country. And please don't tell me that you have to keep diplomatic channels open. Diplomatic channels have done nothing to save the lives of thousands of innocent Gazan women and children who are like fish in a pond when it comes to the onslaught from the Israelis shooting them and brutally killing them day and night. So Netanyahu can comfortably say, nothing on earth is going to stop me. He said it 2 days ago, nothing on earth is going to stop him, because nothing on earth will. The EU, the US, and if we do not act, we will, by absence of deed, be complicit in supporting Netanyahu. Very good that you're going to recognise the state of Palestine, but look at the state of it. It's in absolute bits. Gaza is flattened. The West Bank has no meaningful territory left because of the settler violence and the encroachment of settlers right across the West Bank. We recognise the state of Palestine, but we have to recognise that it's now time to do something crucially urgent. And the one thing we need to do in this country is to end the use of Shannon Airport. US military have been flying in more frequently through Shannon Airport. We do not check the planes. We don't know if the hardware that is killing the women and children in Gaza isn't being brought through there. And it is a disgraceful compromise on our position of neutrality to allow that not to just happen, but to increasingly happen. And you have to make a statement on the ending the use of Shannon Airport by US military.
Just before calling on the Taoiseach to respond, I want to ask members to join me in extending a céad míle fáilte to the Governor of Delaware, John Carney, who has just joined us in the Distinguished Visitors Gallery. Governor Carney is proud of his Irish heritage, having great-grandparents on both sides of his family. I also welcome Consul General Helena Nolan, who accompanies Governor Carney today. You're both very welcome, and it's good to have you here. Taoiseach, please.
Could I first of all say to the Deputy just a number of points. In terms of diplomacy, and you scoffed and you scorned at it, more than 70 Irish citizens and dependents have been evacuated from Gaza. And the importance of diplomatic relationships or channels cannot be overstated in the context of getting those 70 citizens and dependents out. Our ambassador in Israel has done exceptional work, Sonia McGuinness there, and our representative in Ramallah to the Palestinian Authority likewise, and our ambassador in Cairo also. Deputy, your colleagues have pleaded with me to try and get more out, to try and facilitate the evacuation of others out of Gaza. I have to realistically put it to you that if your view had taken root much earlier, that we would have expelled the ambassador from day one, those 70 would not be out, in my view. You can reflect on that whatever way you wish, but in my view, that is the reality of the situation. And I've received calls to expel the Russian ambassador. I've received calls to expel the Iranian ambassador. So we do need a debate in the House and an understanding of what diplomacy is about. It's not about endorsing any government, any regime. Diplomacy is about maintaining channels of communication, and especially in times of terrible conflict and war. You have to keep the channels open. In terms of the humanitarian situation, it is shocking. All of us in this House agree. It is shocking. I don't think there should be any disagreement in the House about the need to have an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. Irish people are repulsed. Irish people are outraged at the scenes they see on television of children being killed from bombardments and bombings, of starvation, of a man-made famine, and so forth. And one of the most effective things we have done is our support of UNRWA, which is under great threat. And the Israeli government has sought to undermine UNRWA, not just because of its humanitarian role, but more fundamentally because it's connected to the right to return of Palestinian refugees. Now, we've resisted that very strongly, and Philippe Lazzarini, the head of UNRWA, has acknowledged that. And we said no to people, don't pause the funding, because anybody you talk to privately in the US or anywhere all acknowledge that without UNRWA you will not be able to assist effectively and comprehensively the people of Gaza, either now or in the context of a reconstruction of Gaza, which will have to happen after this terrible war ends. And I would also say in terms of there's no weaponry, there's no one using Shannon Airport for any weaponry to go into Gaza or to Israel for that matter. And there are very clear provisions in terms of Irish sovereign airspace and the use of Irish airports, both the Air Navigation Foreign and Military Aircraft Order of 1952, in terms of military aircraft or in terms of the civilian aircraft. There's very clear and stringently and robustly conditions attached to any overflights.
On the last point, Shannon Watch have reported that there's been a huge increase since October last in the number of US military flights stopping over in Shannon. Now that means something, and if you're so confident, and I don't know where you get that level of confidence from, that there's no military use of the aircraft that are stopping at Shannon, because we don't inspect them. We don't get on and inspect and see what cargo they're carrying or who's on it or what their intentions are. And at the very least, if you can't do that, well then God help us and God help Gaza, because you are literally not doing anything to say you'll recognise the Palestinian state and not take sanctions, serious sanctions against Israel, as we did against South Africa when they were the apartheid state and tyranny of the world. We took serious sanctions against South Africa, and that helped to bring that regime down. Now, if you want to end the apartheid nature of the Israeli state and the brutal genocidal nature of the Israeli state, then you have to take action. Words are no use. I completely agree with the rapporteur that you wrote to on that issue. But you do have to address the question of US military coming through Shannon. There is a protest there on Sunday, and there will be more protests as this Middle East conflict escalates, as increasingly Shannon will be used by the US military. Our neutrality is being increasingly compromised. And you have not addressed the question I asked you about the bill to ditch the triple lock, and I need that addressed, please. But I also think you need to address properly the question of Shannon. You don't inspect them planes.
Again, I will deal with the triple lock. First of all, just very quickly, 2023, 2024, no applications have been received or exemptions granted to permit the carriage of munitions of war and civil aircraft flying to a point in Israel. First point. Secondly, no airport in Ireland or Irish sovereign airspace is being used to transport weapons to the conflict in the Middle East or any other war, and people should stop trying to muddy the waters in that respect. And that's what's going on, by the way, in terms
Grand
of
if you would inspect the planes, we might believe you.
In terms of the triple lock, it is an absurdity for you to suggest that any amendment to the triple lock is about ditching neutrality or aligning with any other member state. It is not. It is principally, by the way...
That's what everybody is saying except you.
The one country you rarely condemn in here is Russia or Iran.
This is ridiculous. We are talking about a genocide happening in Gaza.
What is extraordinary, what is interesting and insightful, because I try to be balanced and I try to look at things in a balanced way, the malign influence of Iran in the Middle East barely gets referenced in this House. Iran has meddled and has manipulated and has been a huge issue in respect of the escalation.
And you keep slidden away from the crucial question I'm asking you.
I'm answering you the question. I'm answering you the question. I don't believe Russia should ever have a veto on whether Irish Defence Forces get engaged in international peacekeeping anymore. That's the bottom line as far as I'm concerned. We're depending on a rogue state on the Security Council that can veto any peacekeeping proposal from the United Nations. And I'm saying, Deputy, I'm unequivocal about it. It's not about ditching neutrality. It's the idea that Russia can veto Irish troops being involved in any peacekeeping initiative. We need to wake up a small bit.
What about the behaviour of the US as a state? What about the ironclad guarantee to Israel? That's okay.
I respectfully say to you, Deputy, you shouldn't, I mean, we should be able to debate these things without just making assertions all the time and trying to sort of say we're trying to
guarantee is not an assertion.
We're not ditching military neutrality. We support military neutrality in Ireland. We're not going to change it in any shape or form. We've said that consistently.